So here we go. I am recording. And hi, everybody. Welcome. We are live this evening. It is Wednesday, December 16th, 2015. This is Reinvention Conversations from the Front Porch. My guest this evening, who I am so excited and thrilled to have here with us tonight, is Erin Dickins. She's got a huge history, but today she is now reincarnated as both a jazz vocalist, a in-home chef, an author, and a spice manufacturer. Can't wait to hear how she reconciles all of that. Erin just returned from a European tour, unfortunately with a cold, but she is a trooper. She's here with us tonight, and I'm going to give her the opportunity to say hi to you folks in just a minute. This episode is brought to you by Reinvention Works, which is the destination to empower people and businesses to take control of their next future with powerful tools, networking, and education. And so let's get started here. Erin, I'm going to stop my screen share, and I want you to say something so the audience sees you.
Hello, hello. Great to be here, Hollis.
Thanks so much for coming, Erin. So we're going to let you tell your reinvention story. You can start from wherever in your journey you would like to. Of course, we hope you fill the audience in just 5 minutes about all the little down and dirty details.
5 minutes seems so long.
I'm sure it's not.
Well, as long as you have the hook ready,
That's right. I'm going to go.
Exactly.
So before we get started, though, I want to toast to you. So raise your glass, please.
Will do.
You and your fisherman's friend. I will toast to you.
My Chardonnay and my fisherman's friend.
That's right. And so why don't you show the folks and the webcam your label and tell us what you're drinking.
This is a nice wine. It's a nice Chardonnay from California, Beringer. I enjoy Beringer wines.
Excellent.
I
am having a Chianti Classico, which has been like empty because I had a friend over for dinner and we enjoyed it with some Italian flavored turkey that tasted like sausage. So very nice. This is a La Mole 2010.
Nice.
Yes. So let's go back to the past, however far back you want to go, and tell us all about your reinvention journey and how you got to where you are today.
Oh boy, it's all about me.
How about
you? Well, I guess I'll give a little history of the past. Really, I started singing and loving cooking as just a very young child. My mom had been in show business. She was a rockette, and she was a dancer and a comedian, and she was Bob Hope's first press agent. And so I came by it honestly. My dad was an amateur musician, but extremely talented on piano and banjo and a good singer. And so I loved that. My mother was also a phenomenal cook. So I had all these creative arts going on in my home. And in fact, I still have my first recipe, which was something about pineapple juice with sprinkles and twisty straws. I don't know, but I have it.
Oh my God.
I know. I drew it all. I drew the twisty straws and the whole thing. So fast forward, I always had singing groups and studied a bit as a kid and had a folk group in high school and a folk group in college and sang solo in little clubs. I had a duo with a roommate and, that sort of thing. And in my junior year of college, went up to New York for a month-long course of study and met Tim Hauser and Marty Nelson, who were just happened to be singing together. And we sang together, the three of us, and it was just heaven. And that was the inception of the Manhattan Transfer. So that's pretty amazing to have that happen to you. And I went back to school. This was at the end of January, and packed my stuff up and amidst great, upset and angst in my parents' home, and moved to New York. And, hey, Mom, I'm starting a band.
Wow.
And we all were cooks. Pat Rosalia and Jean Pastilli cook marvelous Italian food, always did. And we were so poor at the time that, rehearsal involved whoever had, 50 cents or $3, we'd buy pasta and sauce and bottle of red wine, and we'd eat together and cook together all the time. So it became kind of a way of life. And also shortly after that era, with Manhattan Transfer, I transitioned to becoming a studio singer in Manhattan, which was great fun. It was the center of the universe in terms of the recording industry, and all the commercials were done there and all the records were done there. Some in LA, some in London, but New York was the hub. And so you could go from studio to studio in any given day and sing for Ford and then sing for Roberta Flack or Yoko Ono or, God knows what. And then at the end of the night, get into the studio for free when it wasn't booked and stay up all night recording your own stuff. So that was an extraordinary time. And, to be in the studio every day, working with the likes of Will Lee and Rob Mounsey, Chris Parker, Steve Gadd, some of the finest names even today in music. I mean, they are just monsters. They're just huge, wonderful musicians. And this was who I sang with every day. And Patty Austin, and Valerie Simpson and Nick Ashford, and we're just sort of in the studio with us, so that was quite an extraordinary experience. And at a parallel time, my business manager, Jeff Lissauer, who managed 20 of these top studio cats, he just sort of took care of us. I remember he came to my house one time to teach me how to set up a filing cabinet. I was like, you want some wine? He's like, no, I do not want wine. I want you to get me the files, And he finally gave up on me and gave me a beautiful shopping bag from Henri Bendel, where I like to shop. And he said, now this is a beautiful shopping bag. You like it, right? Yes, I like it. He said, well, then everything that has to do with money all year, put it in the shopping bag and bring it to me at the end of the year, and we'll be fine. Forget the filing. So anyway, Jeff bought a famous restaurant in New York that had been owned by some symphony guys and turned it into a hip eatery for New York musicians. And we called it Possible 20, and 20 musicians invested in it. And I cooked in it, and we all hung out there, and all the theater crowd hung out there. So food and music side by side for me, forever and ever, amen.
Okay.
So in a way, there was never any reinvention with either of those passions. They just went hand in hand. And, there's so many stories, I just won't even go there. But so that was a whole era in my life. I think that recently I got serious about my food in terms of making it a business. I always did it. I studied it. I had, 7-course huge, beautiful dinner parties that took me a week to prepare to make the demi glazes and all the different things that needed to be done. But that was still sort of amateur, even though I was studying and cooking in the restaurant. But lately I thought, I couldn't think of a single musician who doesn't love food and isn't a good cook. And I can't think of people who really love music and love to go out to concerts who don't love to eat. So it kind of really goes together. So I started fooling around a little bit with recipes that go with songs and ended up with a cookbook based on my latest jazz CD. And that begged the question, well, how can you make this easy for people so that they can get the joy that you're getting, so that they can have the experience in their home of cooking and entertaining and sharing the music and doing exactly what you're doing easily. So that is where the spices were born, the seasonings were born. And so here I am. I'm in the middle of it. It's constantly changing and molding. And, I just went to Europe for a concert tour, and now I have a new concept for a CD. And oh my God, and should I do it? Songs about food? I don't know. And should we launch the line in London? I don't know. And, so, I mean, it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. But it's really fun. It's really, really fun.
So many questions. So let me start where you're leaving off.
Was that 5 minutes? That was pretty good.
Yeah. Perfect timing, as a matter of fact. Woohoo. Woohoo. So do you do what you're doing now with the food because it's fun? Or do you want it to pay the bills?
Certainly music doesn't pay the bill. Music Music drains my resources in a huge way. Right now, food is draining my resources because I have to keep investing. You know, I have 2 big shows in January. And in Atlanta, I got at the gift show, which is huge. I got invited to do a demo in their demonstration kitchen, which is a fairly big deal. So I've got to redo. I have 6 new flavors. I've got to redo all my marketing, all my labels, all my, you know, everything, signs. So you know, the dollars are just flowing out for printing and graphics, and you know, I may get that back in a year. I don't know. I think that the food has a better chance of paying the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it would be nice to have the seasonings chugging along. I don't necessarily want to blow it up big enough to be in Whole Foods, say, or Wegmans, because then that becomes all encompassing. And I think that what juices me is doing the 2.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you talk about, you know, pursuing something that you're really passionate about, it seems like from the time that you figured out that you wanted to pursue music, you were all in.
Yeah.
And it seems like that right now. You know, it's not necessarily a question of when or if you're going to recoup these dollars. For you, it's almost like being all in is part of your nature. Do you think of it that way? Are you ever conscious of it that way?
I don't think of it that way. But I do know that I go down rabbit holes, you know. I have a friend who said to me one year, you know, what's with you? Last year it was all houses, houses, houses. This year it's all dog, dog, dogs. You know, next year what's it going to be? All travel, travel, travel? I mean, pick one. But, you know, I guess my husband says I have a very active mind. So when I start to learn something, I want to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So I guess that's where the all in comes. And it's very, in music, unlike writing a book, singing a song gives you instant gratification. So does creating a seasoning. Like when I hit on my poultry perfection and I smelled it, and it smelled exactly like Thanksgiving stuffing, I was like, wow. You know, and that was a few days in the kitchen fooling around. So that's pretty quick gratification.
Yeah.
So I think that sucks you in to be all in, right? Because you're getting gratified along the way.
So do you ever have fear?
I'm delusional, so no.
You're Steve Jobs.
I mean, you should be taking risks like this when you're 20, you know, really. I mean, I'm crazy. I have doubts sometimes. I don't doubt that I'm capable, but, you know, as you're watching the money go out, any person with any sanity has to think about it.
Right.
But I think unless you put the blinders on and are all in, as you say, you don't stand a chance of getting anywhere.
Right.
Because I think what's contagious, it's infectious, my energy and excitement about it. You want to go, okay, let me taste it.
Right.
You know, so if I wasn't that excited about it, it would just be another can of things that somebody mixed up.
Sure. Right. So then, you know, in your instance, though, your reinventions have always been tied to your literal energy. I mean, that's your profession too.
Yeah.
No matter which way you slice it, you're productizing, but you're still the product.
Well, yeah, very insightful. I think that is, and anybody I've ever gone to with PR or anything just says, please don't forget that the product is you. And that's something that one has to be careful about, because I can only be spread so thin. So I have to make my creations stand on their own and use my energy and my passion and my joy to turn people on to it.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a slippery slope, really.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because the normal questions that I might ask somebody about reinvention, in a lot of ways, I don't know if they apply to you, because you do have like this kind of energy that radiates off of you that is just so affirming and self-assured, like, and even if you say you're demented, you're saying it with your whole like being. You're just like
Right.
embrace it.
Yeah.
So in your life, like I kind of wonder about your upbringing, because you said that your parents were unhappy that you were leaving college, and yet you grew
Right.
up with this unconventional household. How did they raise you? What did they
God, that's a funny question. Well, I mean, they were very conventional, actually. I mean, my father was, as was his father, Naval Academy, and he was a captain in the Navy. He was very handsome. He was extremely intelligent, and he was a great athlete, scratch golfer, tennis champ, kind of amateur tennis champ. And he worked as an engineer, later in his life. He taught for many years. He taught math at the academy and at Yale, and, lived in New England, ran an ad agency, but then settled on engineering. Very straightforward. Get on the train at 7:00, go into Manhattan, come home, have a martini, go to bed, do it again, But he had this passion for music, truly. My mother was a pistol. She was off the wall. And I think I get my sense of humor from her and my energy from her. Mm-hmm. But that was a double-edged sword, because we always fought, mothers and daughters, right? Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. This has nothing to do with anything. But my previous husband, when we were about to get married, his parents, who were from Norway, threw a brunch, so that I could meet the family friends, all the older folks and the whole thing. So my ex-husband's father was a doctor, a surgeon, very elegant man, really elegant, and asked me a few things about my parents. And I explained that my father had been Naval Academy, blah, blah, blah. My mother was, had been in the theater and had been a rockette and blah, blah, blah. So Daddy-O starts drinking and he gets up to give his toast to welcome me to the family. And all he can remember of our conversation was her daddy was a sea captain and her mama was a rocket. And I thought, my mama was a rocket really sort of like says it all,
Exactly. Pistol, rocket, it's all the same.
But I think I fought everybody all the time. I had to do it my way. You couldn't tell me anything, typical kid, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it has to do with raising. I think it has to do with passion. And I was so lucky to have a talent to sing and to be so juiced by that. What do you do if you don't know what it is you want to do? I don't know. That would be the hurdle.
Well, that's what a lot of people actually do face.
Yeah.
But I would say, for you, I kind of wonder, you had success young.
Right.
And that's also something that a lot of people don't achieve. And I think that there is always like the whole like, VH1 behind the music, or where are they now? I mean, like, did you ever feel that you peaked and then everything else has been anticlimactic?
No, I keep waiting for it to happen. God, I'm one who has to remind myself it is happening. You're in the moment.
Like in the
Don't
moment.
miss this, Don't be so. But I think also, I think that just as a personality, it wouldn't have mattered what I did. I'm just sort of bossy and driven, and I think I can do it. Mm-hmm. And I love business. I mean, I've run nonprofits. I've run like a $10 million payroll company in Hawaii. I learned how to do all this.
When was that?
What? I had to make a living. I went to Hawaii. They said, really? You sang Ford, but, well, I couldn't get a job as a singer when I moved there. I couldn't get a job. So I learned how to do this complicated theatrical payrolls, and we did payrolls for like Jake and the Fat Man and all these different huge shows, different movies and stuff, Throw Mama from the Train and War and Remembrance. And, it was really complicated. I built the company up just, fake it till you make it, you know. But I think that that's just a personality thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the delusional part.
Right. So,
Right.
has anything changed for you during in this progression and over the years in terms of reinventing? Do you think that you still had the same energy, the same capability, or the same brute force, or what other kinds of, what have you learned, and what could you impart to people who may not have the degrees of levels that you have?
I think nuance, maybe. I've learned nuance. And I think I've learned that it really doesn't matter what you do if you feel that you're doing it for the greater good. If you feel that, if something makes you happy, it could be my Cocker Spaniels. I mean, start me on that subject. The show will be over. I love my Cocker Spaniels. So if they brought me the ultimate joy and my whole commitment was to teaching people how to brush them or feed them, it wouldn't matter because I'd be somehow giving that energy back, elevating the vibration of this broken planet, and it can be one person at a time, or happy day when I'm on stage and it's 500 or 1,000, and you have a 2-hour period to make a shift for people. That's what I've learned is the most important. When you're 20 and you're standing in front of people, you're worrying, is my stomach fat? Do I have the right color lipstick? Are they going to think I'm cool? Are they get, am I singing in tune? Am I hip? And none of that matters.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. People think I'm cooler now as an old broad than I did when I was this young ingenue, because I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I care about it being for the right reason, and I think that's what I've learned. And so I don't think it matters what you choose. And sadly, all of us have to do things that we don't want to do. I have jobs that I don't really love, but, it is what it is. So you have to find the things that juice you and find a way to do them anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Teach a kid how to play tennis if that's your thing. I mean,
along the way, what or who have you leaned on to kind of help you in the less energetic times?
I think my husband is God's gift to me. I mean, I think he is the long-suffering, patient man who drives me to the airport and tells people to shut up. If somebody talks when I'm in a concert, he walks right up to them and said, "Excuse me, she's singing.
Oh.
You'll need to be quiet." But I think he has a perspective and an understanding that I have to do what I'm doing. And if I called him tomorrow and said, "It's it's not food, it's Cocker Spaniels," he'd say, "Great. What do you want to feed the Cocker Spaniels? How can I help?" And having somebody who's non-judgmental in your life, and it doesn't need to be a husband or a family member. It could be a girlfriend or anybody who doesn't judge you, who just says, "Go, go, go, go." I think that's the choice, right?
Yep. And I think that, and especially during reinvention times, which aren't easy for everybody, finding people like that who are not only not passing judgment, but are in your corner, and perhaps like the stronger force, or just more. When I was just reviewing some of the past episodes, and one of the women that I interviewed said, "Find people who believe in you more than you believe in you."
Ooh, yeah, great way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do. I mean, you have days I've walked home and said, "Tony, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just done." And he's like, "No, no, no, calm down." It's true. That's really a great way to put it.
Yeah. And what about, if you think back, yours has kind of been this evolution and this pursuit of passions that you've had. But even I think about what you're doing now, making spices. Okay. I worked in the food career for 10 years before I worked in the internet, before I started my reinvention business. So I know what it takes to, manufacture and package and market food product. Okay. You know, she's pulling her hair right now. All of you people who might just only be listening on podcast know that Erin is pulling her hair out of her skull right now. So, it's not like you could just mix up a batch of things in your kitchen and put them in cute little Ziploc baggies and then go to market to them. So, like, do you ever, where do you know where to begin?
Well, this is back to the delusional part. I just think that I know how to do this. So, I don't know. I don't know how I know it, where to begin. I do know that if you do something you like if Tony, can only cook one thing, which he can, but he likes how it tastes, he cooks it really well. Right? So he doesn't have to say, I wonder how I know how to cook this. He just likes it, and so he does it. So I make the seasonings till I like them. I keep working on them till I like them. And then when I like them, I give them to other people and see. But the harder part, I think, is what should the label look like? What should the branding look like? What should the title be? What should the name of each seasoning be? How do they go together? What if that seasoning doesn't work and you've got, 2,000 tins in your garage?
Right.
How can I market this?
Formulate it and scale that formula.
Yeah.
It's one thing, like with seasonings, you're doing a pinch of this and a. Did you find like you had to start like measuring and writing down the?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do everything in small batches, like a half a cup of everything. So half a cup of tarragon, half a cup of half cup measures, and so that I can add all my things together and I have a nice bowl. And if you make it smaller than that, somehow it just doesn't work. But and then I say, I don't like this. The salt's too heavy. It's falling out. It's not holding in. Or so I need a finer salt. So let's go again,
Right. So you're just kind of like,
yeah. I mean, I know enough about cooking that I'm not lost doing this, but.
Right. And just, if you wanted to, because we're getting closer to the top of the hour and want to make sure we have time for Q&A. But like, if you were to say 3 things that either really made a difference to you during one of these reinventions, or that you would advise to somebody to start their reinvention and get themselves going, what 3 things would those be?
I think, oddly, I wouldn't get all hung up in business plans and 5-year plans and projections and all the things that people tell you that you must do, because I think it can hang you up so bad that you can lose your vision. That'll come. So I would say the first thing is to really daydream about not where you're going to end, but a nice place to be with it. So my daydream was a nice little seasoning business, 10 to 12 flavors, some nice little kitchen products to go with it, a bunch of clients that floated the boat for me, not making me rich, not getting into Wegmans or Safeway or something like that, just to have it paying for itself and paying for my time. That would be the first thing. So if you can envision that, then once you have the vision, you start thinking immediately, it becomes very clear how to get there. That clears itself up. The other thing I would say that's critical is have 1 or 2 friends you trust, but if you disagree with them strongly, don't let them derail you. It's your vision. You're allowed to make a mistake. If you start listening to other people, you're going to get lost. They're going to tell you, oh, this will never work. That'll never work. You can't do this. You should do that. You know what you should do? And then all of a sudden, you don't know what you're doing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think trust your vision, trust your daydream that you want. And the third thing I would say is work on it every day. Like when I get up every day, in my life itself, and this is what I'm telling you this because it would apply to your reinvention, I do 3 things in the morning before I go to work to maintain things. Like I might clean out one drawer in my dresser, or I might reorganize my shoes, or I might, I don't know, throw out something that I don't need. Just a few things to maintain, right? And then I do 3 things to take a step forward. Call my graphic artist, send a check to so-and-so to such and such. 3 things to move forward. Call the newspaper and see what it costs to advertise. And then I do 3 things during the day for me. I either meditate, or I spend a little extra time on my skin, or I, bleach my teeth, or I do something, do my Alexander work. So that's 9 things every day. And some of these things can literally take you 20 seconds. It's a phone call. It's a thought. It's text. But you feel like if you get into the rhythm of that, you're really moving forward. Right? So that's 3.
And you do this consciously.
Yeah.
Every day.
I do. Some days I don't. I mean, some days I'm just
okay, you're not
I'm
perfect.
Not doing it.
Thank God.
Yeah, you can't make me. But I try to do it, really a lot. And it's not a big deal. It could be, God, my iPhone's dirty. Why don't I just clean this screen? And that's good. That's maintenance. That'll make me feel better.
Okay.
Right?
Did you come up with this yourself?
I look around. I look around the room. Yeah. I've been putting off the bottom of that for like 2 years. Let's go.
Okay. But I mean the methodology, the 3-3-3. Did you come up with that yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's just something that works
OCD
for me.
Tendencies.
Huh?
We want to ask about your OCD tendencies.
Yeah.
All right. So, Erin, I think you and I could like chat all night.
Oh yeah.
So why don't we open the floor up for the Q&A from the audience and see if they've got anything to say, and otherwise we'll just chat some more.
That's good.
But folks, now is your chance to ask your questions. So
please, baby.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a chance to type them into your little Zoom Q&A box. Please do that, and you can send it on up. I'll read them to Erin. Erin, while they're typing, is there anything about like a new spice for the holiday, or a perhaps holiday gift idea?
Holiday gift idea. I have this thing called Poultry Perfection that is so good for stuffing and turkeys and stuff like that. I sold a boatload of it for Thanksgiving, but great also for Christmas. And then I've got one called Amazing Glaze that's really good on ham.
Yummy.
That's good. And then a dessert spice called Apples, Peaches, Pumpkin Pie.
Okay, and so that was Amazing Glaze, Apple, Peaches, Pumpkin Pie, and Poultry Perfection. And we're going to give you, we're going to put up the URL at the end of
cool.
This, so everybody can get that. So I do have one question that was submitted earlier, and it was, how do you compare the 70s and 80s studio work to like home rap urban music now? So this is a professional size question.
Oh, I'm going to resist the urge to. I'm going to bite my tongue a little bit. There is no comparison. And there is no comparison between being an artist and being a studio singer, because being a studio singer means you have to sound like everybody. So you'll go in one day. I mean, I did a commercial. I think it was for Dentine or something. I can't remember what it was for. But Valerie Simpson of Ashford and Simpson, River Deep, Mountain High, let's go get stoned. Valerie Simpson. They pressed the talk back. Val, can you sound a little whiter? So studio singing, we sang country, we sang jazz, we sang rock, we sang classical, we sang pop, and we had to sing it really fast. Rap is rap. So, but being an artist, you just have to sing like you. So that was it was really interesting, really, really challenging, and the greatest learning thing I've ever gone through, and yet really damaging as a solo artist, because it took me a couple of years to get over it. My producer kept saying, you sound like a commercial. You sound like, get the smile out of your face. You don't sound authentic. Who are you?
Interesting.
Interesting.
How many years did you do commercial work?
From, let's see, probably almost 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And here we have another question.
Okay.
With so many things pulling you in different directions, how can you give 100% to all of them? Does something suffer?
I lose my mind. I have to go from one to the other. Like, I worked on music all summer in advance of touring in England in August and early September. And then I put aside the month of September and early October to work on food. And then I jumped back into music because I had to go back in December. So I spent 6 weeks preparing for my big band tour. And it's one or the other. You know, people say, let's go to a club and sing tonight. And I'm like, I haven't sung in 6 weeks. You got to give me a couple days, which is interesting, you know.
Right.
But the other thing is that I think that I practice in my head and I cook in my head. It's like when people say, oh my God, I started thinking in French when I'm in France, you know. It's like, so if I'm on tour, I might just be daydreaming in the car about, you know, what's wrong with, you know, I have a new one called Beyond the Sea. And I've almost got the formula right. And I'll be thinking, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's missing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that's working on it, you know, and I sing songs in my head. I think about phrasing and stuff. So I give 100% to each when it's time.
So she's really a combination of 400%, folks.
Yeah. So, I mean, like all of December and all of January through till the 20th is food.
Yeah.
Food.
Oh, man. I'm coming to visit you. So one last question from me, because you've mentioned it so many times now, is daydreaming. How do you stimulate? How do you stay? It's almost like you're that kid at heart. How do you keep that going? How do you sustain it?
Well, I think that if you're not learning and you're not curious, you start to lose your vibrance. You start to lose who you are, and life isn't as vivid. So I guess that doesn't stimulate me to daydream. That may just be part of how I'm made up.
Mm-hmm.
But when you love something, I think teachers and parents often tell us, stop thinking about that, focus on your studies. Don't waste your time, you're just daydreaming, and I think you should daydream. And maybe unprogram that, you know, like Julia Child always used to say, we should play with our food. You know, they tell you don't play with food. She said, what else are you going to do? You should play with your food. You know, so if you can sort of unlearn that, maybe it would make it a little easier to just let yourself go there.
I think that's a great place for us to end. But we're not going to like totally end. So I'm going to switch us over now to the deck, and I want to make sure that we give you an opportunity. So let me just bring us back up, and I'll share my screen.
Okay.
And we will advance my slide so that everybody knows how to get a hold of you. It looks like we have a little overlap here. So I'm going to have you tell us about your second or third Twitter handle, depending on how many you want to tell us. If they want to get a hold of you, your Twitter handle, and you're very active, I can speak to that, is at Erin Dickins, or I think it's Sizzle and Spice, but
Sizzle and Swing.
Sizzle and Swing with an A-N-D, right?
Yes, with an A-N-D.
Right. So and we have, I'm sorry that the screen works this way.
That's okay.
We have our little mega reinvention plug here, which is.
And if you Google Erin Dickins or you Google Sizzle and Swing, it'll come right up. And
your URL is sizzleandswing.com.
Yeah.
Right? Which is where you can buy the Poultry Perfection, the special dessert glaze, and the
book.
And the book.
With the CD in it, and it has a recipe for every song, which is so fun. I had so much fun doing that.
I bet you that was fun. Are you supposed to sing with your recipe, play your music with your recipe?
Yeah, you put the CD on, cook a little, and, you know, one of my recipes is for Eggs Benedict and Bloody Marys, Bennies and Bloodies. And I have so many friends on Sunday mornings that make Bennies and Bloodies now.
And for everybody who's having those Benedicts and Bloodies, and then you want to repent and start your New Year's off with a reinvention, we have Mega Reinvention 2016.com, which is a
Wow.
program to take everybody through the reinvention continuum, helping get their head all in the right place, which Erin clearly has, and then allows you to do the daydreaming to vision what you want to do, followed by planning and execution. So it's more than 30 speakers and sessions
Wow.
all online from January 2nd till January 31st. You cannot get something like this anyplace else. It's delivered all online. It will be recorded. After it's recorded, it'll be posted for on-demand viewing or listening all through March 31st, all for the one single price. And you also get access to the Reinvention Works community. So
Nice.
go there and check that out too, folks. And otherwise, we would love to have you back next week to hear from Ted Rubin, who he himself is quite the reinventionist and a phenomenal person and very impressive. So we'll welcome him next Wednesday. I know it is the evening before Christmas Eve, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope everybody joins us. And otherwise, we will see you either in January or thereafter. So thanks, everybody. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Hollis.
You're wonderful. I hope you have a great night.
So fun. Stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care now.
Okay, honey.
Bye.
Bye.